Hi, welcome to another video discussion in data analytics. This is Miss Rena and we are finally in module number 10. This is the last module for this semester. So this is our topic for this lecture, correlation and regression analysis. This module is focused on finding the correlation coefficient R, performing hypothesis testing on correlations, and making predictions using the regression line. Same as always, you have plenty of time to read this on your own, so pakibasa po pag free kayo. Let's move forward to the learning guide questions. So these are your focus. Congratulations to the students who scored 20 and above in the recitation. Di ko na kayo tatawagin. So yung mga nakikinig po dyan na hindi pa nakaka-comply dun sa 20 points na highest natin for the recitation or ceiling natin for the recitation, please pakihanap po yung sagot dito sa tatlong tanong na to. There is a possibility that you will be asked these three questions. Number 1, what is correlation? Number 2, what is the use of the regression equation? And finally, what is the limitation of making predictions using regression? Let's proceed with the introduction. Another area of inferential statistics involves determining whether a relationship exists between two or more numerical or quantitative variables. Take note, we can only use correlation and regression kapag quantitative ang data. For example, a business person may want to know whether the monthly income is related to the person's dining pattern or if a person's age has a relationship with a person's monthly expenditure. These are only a few of the many questions that can be answered by using the techniques of correlation and regression analysis. So, diretso tayo. Correlation is a statistical method used to determine whether a linear relationship between variables exists. Regression is a statistical method used to describe the nature of the relationship between variables. That is, kung positive ba or negative, linear or non-linear. So the purpose of this module is to answer these questions statistically. Number 1, are two or more variables linearly related? Number 2, if so, what is the strength of the relationship? Number 3, what type of relationships exist? And number 4, what kind of predictions can be made from the relationship? Okay? Okay. So to answer the first two questions, statisticians use a numerical measure to determine whether two or more variables are linearly related and to determine the strength of the relationship between or among the variables. This measure is called the correlation coefficient. Ito po yung represented by the letter R. So for example, there are many variables that contribute to a person's dining pattern. Among them is the social classification, income, diet, age, and gender. Of these variables, some are more important than others. Therefore, a business owner who wants to increase his profit must know which factors are most important. And if in case ang napili niyang factors ay parehas quantitative, then we can use correlation coefficient or correlation analysis. To answer the third question, you must ascertain what type of relationship exists. There are two types of relationships, simple and multiple. So kapag ka po simple, one-to-one lang, isang independent variable, isang dependent variable, yun lang yung pairing natin. Pero kapag ka multiple, syempre, mas extensive na siya, extended na, so mas marami yung factors na kino-consider. So, in a simple relationship, there are two variables. An independent variable, also called an explanatory variable or predictor variable. But in this module, I stick to the terminology na independent variable. Hindi ako gumamit ng nitong dalawa pang terms na explanatory or predictor. Next, dependent. So, a dependent variable, also called a response variable. So, dito, sa module na to, independent and dependent lang yung tatandaan natin. Okay? So, a simple relationship analysis is called simple regression. And there is one independent variable that is used to predict the dependent variable. So in this module, we will only focus on simple regression. So madali lang po yung gagawin natin. Finally, dun sa fourth. The fourth question asks what type of predictions can be made. Some predictions are more accurate than others due to the strength of the relationship. That is, the stronger the relationship is between variables, the more accurate the prediction is. Okay, ano correlation ulit? It measures the strength and direction of linear relationship between two variables. In this module, to get the correlation coefficient R, we will use vasorstats.net. Hindi na po tayo magmamano-mano kasi sobrang haba nung formula just to get one statistic, which is R. Okay, ano yung properties ng R? So, kapag ka nakuha mong value ay, halimbawa, nag-compute ka mano-mano, this will not happen if you are going to use Vasar stats ha. Pero baka meron dyan na student na gusto magmano-mano. If your value is greater than 1 o kaya less than -1, ibig sabihin mali yung nakuha mong value. So, ang R po ay between -1 to 1 lang. Okay, so a negative value implies an inverse linear relationship, while a positive value implies a direct linear relationship. So let's look at this in the forms of slope. So di ba halimbawa meron kang x and y variable. Halimbawa ito ay age. Pasensya na ha, wala yung pen ko eh. And then ito yung height. Yan. Okay. So, dito sa age and height, so habang tumataas yung age, tumataas din yung height. This is an example of a positive relationship. Okay? Okay. Now, doon naman tayo sa okay. Ulitin ko ha, this is an example of a positive linear relationship. Doon naman tayo sa negative. Halimbawa, ang x mo, this is the independent variable, ay number of hours spent on Netflix. Bawa ganyan. Okay. Dun sa number of hours spent on Netflix, nandito naman yung exam score. Or, teka lang, G1 na lang, G1. Yan. Ay, teka, papababa nga pala ang G1. Sige, test score na lang. Test score. Yan. So, halimbawa, habang lumalaki or tumataas yung number of hours mo na nanonood ka ng mga shows sa Netflix, bumababa yung test score mo. This is an example of an inverse relationship. So, ito yung example ng negative na relationship. Makikita nyo yan sa behavior nung line. So, kapag papataas siya, positive yun. Pag papababa, negative yun. Okay? We are going to, although hindi to included sa module, we are going to show the scatter plot of the example that we are going to discuss in the module. Okay, ito pa rin yung example na gagamitin natin later. Okay, so BSHM and BSTM sample data sheet, health protocols, and dining patterns. Okay, near 1 or -1 means strong linear relationship, while those near 0 mean weak linear relationship. Specifically, ito yung interpretation natin. So, qualitative interpretation. Take note, naka-absolute value tayo. Kung negative yung mga value dito, halimbawa, negative 0.001 0 something to 0.2. Ano tayo ha? Exclusive tayo of 0.0. Here, we have negative very weak or very weak negative relationship. Pero kapag ka positive naman siya, very weak positive relationship. Ganon din dito sa iba. So, kung positive yung value mo, we have a weak positive relationship. Kung negative, halimbawa, negative 0.2 to negative 0.4, we have weak negative relationship. So, idadagdag mo lang dito yung direction nung line or yung relationship that exists between your variables. Computed naman yun with R. Titingnan nyo lang kung ano yung sign ni R. Kapag ka negative, ibig sabihin negative yung relationship. Pag positive, ibig sabihin positive yung relationship. Okay? Okay. Now, let's move forward to the example. This is our problem. Is there a linear relationship between age and the frequency of dining out on fast food chains or quick restaurants before the pandemic? Okay. Zoom out lang natin siya ng konti. Ay. Okay. So, ito yung data natin. It is derived from here. Ito, age and fast food quick service restaurants. Okay? So, to get the correlation coefficient R, follow the steps below. So, step A, syempre, go to vasorstats.net. I will just copy this address and then paste it on my browser. Ayan. So, step 2 tayo. Or step B, in the menu, choose correlation and regression and then data import version. Mag-stick po tayo sa data import version since I will be providing you with the data naman. Mas madali kasi yun kaysa mag-input kayo isa-isa. Papaliwanag ko rin yung difference niya later on. So, correlation and regression. Tapos dito tayo sa data import version. So, dito sa data import version, you have to take note that when importing data from a spreadsheet, halimbawa, galing siya sa katulad nito, Google Sheet. The paired values of x and y, x is the independent and y is the dependent, must be in the form of two adjacent columns. So, pagka sabi natin adjacent, dapat magkalapit. Let's take a look at our data. So, dito, hindi magkalapit si age at saka si fast food or quick restaurant. So, dapat gawin mo muna siyang magkalapit. So, copy muna natin sila. Tapos, lipat natin siya sa isa pang sheet. Then, paste natin siya dito. Yun, magkalapit na sila. Di ba? Okay, susunod natin gagawin. Within the spreadsheet application, select and copy the two columns of data. Then, return to this page, click the cursor into the data entry field, and perform the paste operation. So, sabi lang niya, within the spreadsheet application, copy lang daw natin sila. Take note, you have to be careful, do not include the label. So, copy. And then, balik daw tayo sa VisorStat. Tapos, i-paste lang natin siya. Ayan. So, you will see that the individual respondents ay nasa iisang row lang din. So, halimbawa, yung may age na 29, ang response niya, 7 times siya in a week na pumupunta sa fast food or quick service restaurant. So, si 30 years old, 7 times. Si 29, 3 times. So, dapat dito ganun din. So, kung sino yung sumagot ng edad niya, katapat din yung response niya for the dependent variable, which is the frequency. Okay? Next step natin, from the module, just may mali pala ako na dapat step D lang to. Click calculate. I will just edit it out later. Okay? So, just click calculate. Ayun. So, dito makikita na natin yung data summary. So, ito yung, kung magmamano-mano kayo, kailangan nyo yun kunin isa-isa. Diba? Ang dami-dami niya, ang dami yung i-compute. Pero kung naka-visor stat naman tayo, ito lang yung mga kailangan natin. R, in this module, we are only going to focus on R, the slope, the y-intercept, and of course, the t-value and the p-values. So, mamimili tayo kung one-tailed ba or two-tailed. Ito, meaningful din tong R squared at saka standard error of estimate. But, I will not discuss this anymore since I think in your researches, enough na ito lang yung gamitin natin para hindi na rin kayo masyadong malito. Focus na lang tayo sa R, slope, y-intercept, t, at saka p. Okay, okay? Okay. Now, let's move forward to the interpretation. So, sabi ko nga kanina, ang importante yung R. So, according to our computed R, ayan, we have 0.4651. And if you still remember yung qualitative interpretation natin earlier, R, teka, i-move ko dito sa taas. Yung R na 0.04 within the range of 0.04 to 0.06 ay moderate ang relationship. Ngayon, ang computed natin na R from our Visor stat output ay 0.46. So, nasa moderate siya. And positive. You always have to determine kung ano yung sign nung R ninyo, kung positive ba or negative. Kasi yun yung magpe-predict ng direction. So, ito. There is a moderate positive linear relationship between age and the frequency of dining out on fast food chains, quick restaurants before the pandemic. Ganun lang kasimple mag-interpret. Meron kayong cheat sheet from above. Ayan. Ito, tatandaan nyo lang to. Or lagi nyo lang siyang i-check. Okay? Okay. And I mentioned earlier that I will show you, kasi ito, hindi naman siya laging nakikita, di ba? I will also show you how to visually check if the line is really positive or negative. Okay, balik tayo dito. From our sample data, ito, yan, we are going to insert chart. Insert tayo ng chart. And again, si Google Sheet, decisive naman siya. So, isasuggest niya sa'yo kung ano yung perfect na chart for your type of data. So, di na tayo magbabago kasi kung Google Sheet yung gagamitin nyo, scatter chart yung isasuggest niya sa inyo. From here, sa scatter chart, kailangan natin makita kung ano yung trend nung line or nung mga tuldok, kung papataas ba siya or papababa. Dito, sa ating Google Sheet, medyo kita natin na parang papataas siya, pero hindi tayo sigurado. 'Di ba? So, para makasigurado tayo, just go to Edit Chart. Ayan, lalabas naman siya dito. And then, just look for Customize dito. And then, click Series. Mag-expand siya. Baba lang kayo, hanapin nyo tong trend line. So, tick nyo lang tong trend line. Lalabas yung linya. This is the regression line for our scatter plot or for our data for age and the frequency of visiting fast food and quick restaurants before the pandemic. Weekly visit to. So, you can see here na medyo hindi steep yung slope ng line natin. So, kapag ang line mo ay, pakita ko lang yung difference So, if your line is super steep, just like this one, this means that there is a strong relationship. Pero kapag medyo parang tuwid lang siya, ganyan. Yan, may moderate na relationship. Tapos kapag sobrang, teka lang, baguhin ko nga. Yan, kapag medyo ganyan, ayan, medyo moderate. Tapos kapag ganyan na halos, halos maging horizontal line na lang siya. That means that there is a weak relationship that exists. Okay? Okay. So, ngayon, ma'am, kailangan pa ba namin mag-hypothesis testing? Because you mentioned that inferential statistics is strongly associated with hypothesis testing in the previous videos. Yes, meron po tayong test of hypothesis dito. Kahit na nakita mo na that there is a moderate positive linear relationship based on R, kailangan pa rin nating itest if there really is a relationship or wala. Kasi pwedeng ito pala ay hindi totoo. Yan. Although meron kang value dito, pwedeng hindi pala siya valid. So you still have to check for uh, the assumption na meron siyang relationship based on R. Okay. And you have to take note kung ano yung lumabas na R dito. Yun yung magiging clue nyo on the most appropriate alternative hypothesis. Okay? Okay. So, test of hypothesis on correlation. So, kapag ka null hypothesis, hindi po nagbabago. We have rho. This is the Greek letter rho. Rho is equal to 0. There is no linear relationship between the independent and dependent variable. And for the alternative hypothesis, it is one of the following. Two-tailed, of course, we have rho is not equal to 0. There is a linear relationship between the independent and dependent variable. Pero hindi natin alam whether it is positive or negative. So, wala siyang direction na tinutukoy. Kapag ka one-tailed right, so there is a positive linear relationship between the independent and dependent variable. So, papunta siya sa kanan. So, kapag ka naman left, papunta naman siya sa kaliwa, so less than. The alternative hypothesis is rho is less than 0. There is a linear relationship between the independent and dependent variable. Now, why did I mention that you will rely on the value of your computed R for the alternative hypothesis? Kasi minsan, hindi sinasabi sa problem kung ano yung kailangan mong hanapin. Instead na mag-assume kayo na two-tailed siya, I will appreciate it better if you are going to make use of R. So, kung walang sinabi, whether positive or negative yung kailangan yung i-check, mag-base kayo sa R. Kung positive yung lumabas na R dito, then you are going to make use of this one, one-tailed right. Okay? Okay. And as is tayo sa decision rule, you have to reject HO if the p-value is less than the alpha. Okay? Okay. This is our problem. Test for the significance of the correlation coefficient between age and the frequency of dining out on fast food chains or quick restaurants before the pandemic using a 95% level of significance. Ay, ito nabanggit ko rin pala dito. Take note, since we computed that R is equal to 0.4641, we will make the assumption that there is a positive linear relationship between age and the frequency of dining out on fast food chains or quick restaurants before the pandemic. Kasi walang binanggit dito sa problem. Wala siyang binanggit kung magtu-two-tailed ba kayo, magwa-one-tailed kayo. So, we will make use of R, which is positive. So, we will make the assumption that it is one-tailed right. Step 1, state the hypothesis and identify the claim. Papalitan nyo lang yung word na independent at saka dependent. So, nakarely yung number of times na pumupunta sila sa fast food chain or quick restaurants based on their age. Ang assumption natin habang tumatanda daw yung mga respondents, mas dumadami yung beses na pumupunta sila sa quick restaurants or fast food chains. There is no linear relationship between the age, this is our independent variable, and the frequency of dining out on fast food chains or quick restaurants. This is our dependent variable. So, palitan lang din natin yung alternative hypothesis natin. Instead of there is no positive linear relationship between independent and dependent, gagamitin natin yung word na age and the frequency of dining out on fast food chains and quick restaurants before the pandemic. Next, compute the test value. I-side by side natin siya dun sa output ng Vasor stats para nakikita nyo siya na mas maayos. So, ito si 1.89, ito yun. Si T. So, kapag ka po nag-check tayo, mahaba yung ano nito mahaba yung formula nito pag mano-mano. So, kapag ka po nag-check tayo ng hypothesis, nagtetest tayo ng hypothesis, t-test din po yung ginagamit natin for testing the assumptions on correlation. Ito po yan, 1.89. Next, step 3, find the p-value. So, sabi natin, this is one-tailed right. So, ito yung gagamitin natin. 0.0406305. Okay? Okay. So, since the p-value, make decision na po tayo, since the p-value is less than the alpha, that is 0.0406305, we have to reject HO. So, summarize natin yung result. At 95% level of significance, there is sufficient evidence to conclude that there is a positive linear relationship between the frequency of dining out on fast food chains or quick restaurants before the pandemic. And specifically, our relationship is moderately positive. Okay? Okay. Thank you for staying with me sa buong discussion natin ng correlation. Tuloy-tuloy na po natin to. Regression analysis naman po tayo. So, ano regression analysis? This examines the relationship between the independent and dependent variable, just like correlation. So, estimates an equation that describes how, on the average, the dependent variable is related to the independent variable. So, meron po tayo ditong gagamiting equation mamaya. Huwag po kayong masyadong ma-overwhelm dun sa mga symbol na gagamitin natin dahil napakasimple lang po niyan. Next, generates an equation that can be used to make prediction. So, yun po ang essence ng regression analysis. If there are some missing values on your data sheet, halimbawa katulad nito, meron tayong age 29, 30, 29, 24, 29, 35, 31, 27, 35, 27, 28, 28, 30, 28, 29. Meron tayong mga numbers in between na hindi nag-exist. For example, yung age na 25 at saka age na 26, wala sila dito. So, hindi natin alam kung ilang beses bumibisita yung mga 26 years old at saka 25-year-old individuals sa fast food chain and quick restaurant. So, pwede natin gamitin yung equation natin dito to predict kung ano yung possible na maging behavior ng mga 26-year-olds at saka 25-year-olds. Okay, so ito po yung example problem natin concerning prediction. Ay wait, nakalimutan ko palang sabihin yung ibig sabihin ng beta sub 0 at saka beta sub 1. Ang beta sub 0 po ay yung y-intercept natin at ang beta sub 1 ay yung slope. Para lang din po itong slope-intercept form of linear equations because our regression line is linear. Ayan. Yung trend line natin is represented by a straight line. Okay, so dito tayo. We have to predict the frequency of dining out on fast food chains or quick restaurants before the pandemic if the age of the respondent is 26. This is if, I'm really sorry, I will edit it out later. I promise. So this should be if. Yan. Solution. Using the values generated from Visor stats earlier, we know that beta sub 0, ito po yun, ang beta sub 0 natin is the y-intercept. So, ito po yun, y-intercept. We have 1.836523. So, ito po ang beta sub 0. Beta sub 1 natin, the slope is 0.244982. So, i-substitute lang po natin yung values. We have beta sub 0, palitan natin yung nandito. Beta sub 0, gagawin natin siyang ganito. Negative 1.836523. Okay? Pinapalitan lang po. Magpa-plug in lang kayo ng value. Next, si beta sub 1 naman, siya yung slope. So, papalitan natin siya ng 0.244892. Ito po. Tapos, i-affix natin yung variable na x. Ngayon, ang problema natin ay magpe-predict daw tayo ng pwedeng maging behavior ng mga 26 years old na respondent. So, if x is equal to 26, then replace lang natin yung variable na x ng 26 para lang kayo ditong nag-algebra. Our y, the possible value in the dependent variable dataset is negative 1.836523 plus 6.369532. Check nga natin kung totoo. Copy ko lang to. Copy. Maglagay tayo dito ng calculator. Ayan. Gawin natin siyang times. Okay, ito po. 0.244982 times 26 is 6.369532. Ito po yun. Now, mag-subtract tayo. Copy natin to. Tapos, paste natin siya dito. Yan. Tanggalin ko lang tong equal. Enter. We have 4.533009. Ito po yun. And, i-round up natin siya since wala namang frequency na kalahati lang, di ba? Hindi naman pwedeng yung mga 26-year-old ay bumisita sa fast food chain ng kalahati lang. Walang ganon. Kapag bibisita ka ng fast food chain at bibili ka doon, magda-dine ka doon, counted yun as 1. So, round up natin siya. Hindi siya pwedeng maging decimal. We have the value 5. So, note, predictions can only be performed for values of x within the range of the sample data. Okay? Okay. So, medyo napahaba yung discussion natin kasi marami tayong diniscuss. 3. Correlation coefficient R, performing hypothesis testing on correlations, at saka making predictions using the regression line. So, sana naintindihan ng maayos. I will give you enough time naman, lalo na dun sa mga kailangan ng recitation, to study the module and watch this video. I hope that you will be able to increase your recitation points. Thank you very much for listening to me for the entire 32 minutes. Just wait for the engaging activity and performance task. I will edit this out and add the links. Inuna ko lang talaga tong video. Thank you and see you next time. Bye!